My dear students, we are discussing about a different kind of interviews, but despite of the fact that we are using different kind of interviews and we are ensuring the effectiveness of interviewing, still there are a number of interviewing pitfalls. So we have to discuss about interviewing pitfalls as well. Regardless of the type of interview you are conducting, there are some pitfalls that all interviewers should be mindful. So this is very important to be mindful about the different pitfalls in the interviewing process. Number one, avoid interrupting the applicant as long as he is saying something relevant. If applicant is discussing something relevant to the job, discussing something which is related to the knowledge and the skills and abilities of the job, then it is better to ask him to continue. Don't interrupt him. Number two, avoid agreement or disagreement. Instead, express interest and understanding. So, interviewing is not a place where you need to agree or disagree with the applicant. You may agree, you may disagree, but it is not a good idea to say something in agreement or say something in disagreement. Rather than you have to discuss, you have to show your express interest and understanding in the interview. Number three, avoid using terminology with which the applicant is unlikely to be familiar. Each and every sector, each and every organization has some very specific terminologies. And we just want to impress applicant, try to use those terminologies, and applicants would not be able to understand such kind of terminologies because those terminologies are very much specific to the context. So better to avoid using such kind of terminologies in the interviewing process. And number four, avoid reading the application or resume back to the applicant. So it is not a good idea to read the resume or read the application back to the applicant. And number five, avoid comparison of an applicant with the incumbent, previous employees, yourself, or other applicants. So it is not a good idea that you are comparing and contrasting the abilities, the knowledge, and the skills of an applicant with yourself, with the incumbent employees, with the previous employees who are working in an organization, or with other applicants who are appearing before him. So don't compare during the interviewing process. And number six, avoid asking unrelated questions. If some questions are not related to the job, it is not a good idea to waste your time in asking such kind of questions. Because such kind of questions would not help you to determine the ability of the persons to perform that particular job. So you are just wasting your time, you are wasting the time of an applicant, and you are wasting the time of an organization as well. And it would lead to very bad impression as well. And number seven, avoid talking down to an applicant. And number eight, avoid talking about yourself. Sometimes you are interviewer and you are just giving your own description. You are just giving a very detailed introduction of yourself. Just give your brief introduction at who you are, what is your designation, and what are your main responsibilities in the organization. That's it. Don't talk too much about yourself because it is not your interview. And number nine, avoid hiring an unqualified applicant simply because you are desperate to fill an opening. This is a disastrous situation, my dear students, that you are not able to find a suitable candidate for any particular job and you are very much desperate to fill the job openings and you are just hiring the person who is not fit for the job. If you would hire such kind of person, it would be he or she would be the liability to the organization. He may leave the organization very soon, or he may stick to the application for a very long time, and it will just lead to the very bad performance of in the job as well. So avoid it. And number 10, avoid trying to duplicate someone else's interviewing style. Be natural. Whatever the interviewing style you have, whatever the voice tone you have, better to use that voice tone there instead of using someone other's interviewing style. And number 11, avoid allowing applicants to interview you or to control the interview. So if applicant is controlling the interview or controlling you in the interview, it is better to avoid that situation as well. And number 12, avoid hasty decision based solely upon first impressions, information from others, a single response, a body language, or your own biases. So don't make biased decisions. Don't make hasty decisions based on these certain things which I have mentioned here. And number 13, avoid asking questions even in a roundabout way that might be considered a violation of equal employment opportunities law. So you have to restrict with the laws, you have to follow the laws, and you are not allowed to ask questions which are very much discriminatory and which are not related to the equal employment opportunities laws. And number 14, avoid judging applicants on the basis of cultural or educational differences. So if you are just judging the candidate based on educational differences or the culture, obviously you are just making a biased decision, and that decision can be wrong. And number 15, avoid conducting stress interviews of any sort. So it is better to avoid conducting stress interviews if you are going to conduct stress interviews. So these are some of the interviewing pitfalls which need to be mindful by the interview.